It's no coincidence that the beginning of Raiders of the Lost Ark is so iconic. The whole opening sequence is oozing with creativity, starting with the very first shot of the film. Now, after watching this about a dozen times, it becomes really clear that the function of the opening sequence is to develop the mythos of Indiana Jones in the most intriguing, enthralling way possible. So let's break down not only how Spielberg portrays Indy's character, but how he uses the filmmaking medium to do so. Okay, so the first thing that Spielberg does is he intentionally limits our view of Indy. He's either being obscured by the vibrant flora of the jungle, or Spielberg serves him to us piecemeal. We see his legs, we see his hands, we see him from behind, but whatever angle Spielberg does feed us, we just can't quite get a good look at his face. By obscuring our view of the protagonist, Spielberg creates dramatic tension because we as audience members are on the edge of our seats wanting to know more about this character. Now, any detail Spielberg does toss our way, we're going to be really keen to scrutinize it. Take this moment here when one of his men runs away in terror after the bats fly out of the statue. Indy comes up to the same statue and seems completely unfazed by its creepiness and more concerned about it as a waypoint on his map. In other words, Spielberg is showing us that Indy is a calm, collected individual who's going to be unwavering in the pursuit of his goal. And we'll see this time and time again. Spielberg leans into the characterization of Indiana Jones by contrasting his personality with that of those around him. For example, right after the moment with the statue, the other two men following him continue along in trepidation while Indy storms ahead at the front of the pack. When they stumble upon the poisoned dart, Indy tosses it away matter-of-factly while his two henchmen obsess over all the dangers that could possibly lie ahead. I love little moments like this in film. I call them multi-purpose moments because they accomplish multiple objectives simultaneously. For this one, we already talked about one of the things it accomplishes, furthering Indy's characterization as a fearless adventurer. The other thing that this moment accomplishes is creating tension that will continue to build throughout the rest of the sequence.
Poison is still fresh, 3 days. They're following us.
Just like that, this expedition into the South American jungle became that much more perilous and intense. Again, it's multi-purpose moments like these that masterful directors like Steven Spielberg employed to elevate their filmmaking. Okay, I would be remiss at this point not to mention John Williams' score. It just does such a great job establishing the mood and enhancing the tension of the sequence. Which brings us to the famous scene at the waterfall when one of Indy's henchmen tries to betray him. Now, there are a couple reasons why this moment works so well. First, you hear the click of the gun and see the slight twitch of Indy's head. What that tells me is, while Indy's not always one step ahead of everybody else, he is great at reacting to his situation. In other words, he may not be a great planner, but he is a great improviser. Secondly, notice how Spielberg elects to shoot the sequence when Indy uses his whip to disarm the gunman. He could easily have Indy grab his whip and snap it at the gunman in one straightforward shot, but he opts to split this moment up into rapid-fire clips instead, each one highlighting the whip itself and once again obscuring Indy's face. By emphasizing his whip, his jacket, and his fedora before finally revealing Indy's face, Spielberg communicates to the audience that these items aren't merely props. They're integral parts of Indiana Jones's character. The whip, the jacket, the fedora, they are his superhero costume, his bat suit, if you will. You don't need to see Batman's face to recognize who he is. All you need is his long black cape, his pointy ears, his utility belt full of batarangs, or maybe just a quick glimpse of his silhouette. Likewise, all you need to see is the whip, the jacket, the satchel, or maybe even just a silhouette with a fedora to recognize Indiana Jones. With these items, Indy is Batman. Without them, he's Bruce Wayne. But Indy's look alone is not enough to make him iconic. Spielberg needs to create a scene that can match the dangerous, adventurous appeal of his character. And boy, did he. Assuming you're willing to overlook the sketchy ethics of stealing a sacred artifact essential to an indigenous tribe's religion, what is there not to like about this scene? I mean, it has everything you could possibly want in a tomb raiding escapade. There's dark corridors and torches, cobwebs and creepy crawlies, booby traps and skeletons, bottomless chasms and golden idols, followed by even more booby traps. You're constantly at the edge of your seat, palms sweaty, because every second your growing sense of dread is accentuated by the way Spielberg moves the camera and John Williams' masterful score. So far, everything has gone according to plan, which makes you that much more anxious for when something inevitably goes wrong. Spielberg even gives us a false sense of relief when Indy appears to have successfully swapped out the idol, but then the whole temple starts to collapse and he's got to race back through all of the booby traps. And if that wasn't enough, he's got to deal with Satipa's betrayal, jump across the chasm without the whip, and escape before the door seals him in the temple for good. Fortunately, Indy makes it by the hair on his scarred chinny chin chin, retrieves the idol from a now dead Satipo, and is finally home free. Or is he? Spielberg has one last card to play. Much like Steve Jobs' one more thing shtick he would employ at Apple events, when you think there couldn't possibly be anything more exhilarating than what we had just watched, when you feel like you can finally catch your breath, Spielberg goes bigger and quite literally bolder. Puns aside, this is one of the greatest, most exciting moments in film. And after all that Indy's been through, barely escaping with his life, his rival shows up to take the idol. Poor Indy, he doesn't even get to walk away with the prize. But it's when he's running from the indigenous tribe, swinging on the vine into the river, and making his escape on the plain that the orchestra blasts the Indiana Jones theme for the first time. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the moment an icon was born. All right, if you enjoyed this video, check out my Indiana Jones 1-4 retrospective right here and my Dial of Destiny review right here. Otherwise, you can leave a comment, click the like button down below, and subscribe for more. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.